Marissa asks, your jokes changed after you felt better about yourself? Yes, no. Can you explore that a little bit?
Absolutely. And there was like a, a definite date and time when it happened. I did an anti-bullying fundraiser, and I believe it was 2015 for Flappers Comedy Club, and Barbara Holiday asked me to do some jokes about my life and my story, and she was kind of rude about it. She was like, "Don't do your normal act. I don't want to hear your normal act. That's why I don't book you." And she didn't really book me at the time. She goes, "I want to hear your story for this particular show." And I was like, I go, "Okay, but don't record it because I don't talk about being gay on stage, and I don't want it to get out." And I went home and I wrote like 7 to 10 minutes about being gay and like coming out and taking it back and like wearing my brother's clothes and things like that, and some songs to go with it. And I really liked the material, and then I performed it, and it felt so good. And then she was like, "Well, I did tape it. I'm not going to put it up, but I want you to watch it." And I watched it and I cried because it was like I hadn't been proud of my set in years. I mean, like I hadn't written anything, I think, genuine in a long, like, I don't ever, maybe ever. And so
How long into your comedy career had you been at that point?
that would have been like 14
You just did
years.
the entire clock.
I did the whole clock. I think it was 14 and a half years
before when
I wrote a legitimate, genuine joke that was personal, and that like.
So you changed from writing jokes for jokes to writing jokes for you.
Right. That without hiding anything. That were just like, and what was funny about it, it wasn't, the whole set wasn't gay. It's like once I wrote once I just talked about a little bit about coming out, some other things came out. And like that set itself only lasted like 2 months. It's a whole coming out set. And then it just became, I mentioned it. I mentioned that like, oh, I have a wife. And then I talked about cats. And then I talked about like these little weird nuggets about my life that I've been hiding because I thought if nobody wants to hear about me being gay, probably nobody wants to hear about, that I crochet or that I like cats, or all the other silly things that I think it's when I have zero self-worth. I think you don't want to hear anything that I have to say, but you'd probably like it if I made fun of somebody. You'd probably like it if I put down a fat person. Like in my mind, as long as I like, just don't talk about me, like I was so insecure, but the minute I let go of my insecurities and was just like, oh, I'm okay in my own skin. I can, if I can talk about the one thing I could never talk about, well, now I can talk about anything. I can just talk about all the stuff I like. And then the audience, when I was like, it doesn't matter. What do I have to lose? I'll just talk about it. They liked it. They were okay with it. They were like, they didn't flinch. And so if they didn't flinch at that, then I could really, now when I sit down to write, I don't think about what is the audience going to like. I just sit down and think, what do I like? Mm-hmm. What do I think is interesting? And then when I'm just like writing about what I think is interesting, then I can really craft a better joke about wording and perspective because it's coming from me and not coming from some version of me that I think you'll like me for. So it's when you talk about the parallels between comedy and me growing, I remember my parents sent me to a therapist for a little while to try to figure out if I was to help me deal with the gay thing. And that whole experience was rotten. But there was one exercise where, and I know I've looked it up before and I cannot remember the name of it, but there's these window panes, and it's like the windows of how you see yourself. And it's like how you see yourself, how others see you, how you think people see you. And I remember sitting there doing the exercise or whatever and not really understanding like how I see me or how you see me or how I want you to see me. But I think stand up is that exercise in a nightly, like it's personified. Every time I stand on stage, I have the way that I am, the way that you're seeing me, the way I want you to see me, and it's all existing at the same time. And I can't really control any of it, but the best I can do is I can just be the best version of me that I can. So